Ashley, what is next?
Next up is from Ewan Callister. So it seems the Mortal Kombat reboot is finally going forward, aiming to start shooting this fall in Australia. Do you think this is a good move? I definitely think so, especially since Mortal Kombat has never been more popular than it is now with MK9, 10, and 11, which came out recently. Thanks, and keep up the filthy.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Listen, we've been talking about the possibility of Mortal Kombat finally getting redone, and there was a lot of movement on it, like back in 2011 and 2013 there was more, then in 2014 there was more, and then it's kind of been dead quiet. Then back in 2016, James Wan was said to come on as producer. Years passed, still nothing. And I've always kind of felt like, hey, they could still do another Mortal Kombat movie. But there are two hurdles. Number one, I feel like every year they wait, the chances get smaller. So they got to move on this relatively soon if they're going to do it. The second thing is there has not been great success with video game movies, and that's been something holding it back as well. Now, working in its favor was the very high-profile release of the brand new Mortal Kombat game, which the trailers look outstanding. I'm hearing pretty good things about the game, but it's selling very, very well, so that was coming back up. But now it's official. James Wan has confirmed that they start shooting a brand new Mortal Kombat movie later this year in Australia, where he did a lot of shooting for Aquaman. Now, what's this movie going to be about? Well, it sounds like it really is pretty much a true reboot, because here's the description of the video of the new movie coming out. It's the new Mortal Kombat movie will follow a male protagonist who becomes drawn into the interdimensional tournament and who begins to realize his true potential as a result of the experience. Okay, so it's Liu Kang. All right, so this is pretty much the exact description of the original Mortal Kombat that we had before. So this is truly a reboot. It doesn't sound like, what do they call them, Rob? A Lega-sequel? I don't think it's going to be one of those Lega-sequels this time around. So we've got that. Let the joyous stuff begins. Now, it should also be pointed out that they have also got on their screenwriter and they've got on their director. So that's important. So they've already taken their major steps forward, their screenwriter and their director. Now, I know sometimes we go a little bit long-winded on this stuff, but I think it's important right now that we run through the full filmography of both the director and the screenwriter. So let's step by step start going through the full filmography. Bear with me as we do this. Okay, so the director, Simon McQuoid, has absolutely zero credits to his name, and the writer, Greg Russo, has absolutely zero credits to his name. And when I say zero credits for Simon, I don't just mean as a director. I mean, he's got no credits of any kind. There is no evidence that he's ever worked on a motion picture in his life, in any capacity, whether it's fetching coffee, whether it's being a gaffer, whatever. Nothing on it. Now, maybe he does. I'm just saying, when you go to his official resume, there's nothing listed there. And he's in charge of this movie. Writer Greg Russo, he's got a couple of things he's been announced that he's attached to, but again, nothing he's ever written has ever been produced at this point. Rob, I'm not going to lie to you. This makes me nervous. I mean, it's all well and good that you say, oh, but James Wan is producing. He ain't going to be there every day. He isn't the one who's got his hand on the wheel of this movie. I mean, look, first-time writers, first-time directors, they got to get their start somewhere, but I've always been nervous when it's on a big budget tentpole kind of film. This is going to be not a $250 million movie, but this thing's going to be north of $150 million to make this thing. That is huge. And we have a screenwriter that's never written anything. We have a director who's never directed anything running this property. I am not going to lie, man. That makes me really nervous. I feel like this isn't true. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. I feel like these must be a couple of beer drinking buddies from James Wan's college days who he made a promise to them at some point 10 years ago. When I'm a big producer, I'm going to give you a movie to direct. And now he's coming through with this. Like, I don't know. It makes me a little bit nervous. On the one hand, pretty excited we're getting a Mortal Kombat movie. You know, on the other hand, written by a guy with no credits and directed by a guy with no credits. And James Wan ain't going to be there on set every day holding their hands. Producers don't do that. I don't know. Should my enthusiasm win out or should my skepticism here win out, Rob? How are you feeling about this?
Well, if this were some indie, say like a short-term 12, I'd be like, all right.
Which is great, by the way.
Great movie, single location, manageable. This is an effects heavy, action heavy, a movie that lives and dies based on its combat scenes. Directing is I like to call it multi-dimensional. You have to be a multi-dimensional thinker. And if you've never been on a set before managing these different elements, you wind up with the first Spawn live action feature. Or you wind up, there was the commercial director who did the Keanu Reeves film that went on, I forget what it was called, but it went on, the martial arts movie, it went on forever. The budget exploded, it ballooned. This doesn't seem like the best idea in the world, especially on a budget of this level. They could be Orson Welles, but if you've never made a film before, they're being thrown into the deep end without a life jacket. And as a matter of fact, they're not even being thrown into the deep end. They'd be driven out to sea about 50 miles, left there, and asked to swim home. That's basically what the equivalent is. So maybe James Wan knows something that we don't, because I'm a firm believer in Wan. I trust, but this seems a little, I don't know.
It doesn't scare me having a new writer as much as a new director, because the writer, just because he hasn't had something produced, he could have written 20 feature films.
Could have been writing his whole life.
He could have amazing samples. He could show everybody all of production that he knows what he's doing. He knows Mortal Kombat. He knows how to write action. He could be incredible, and he just hasn't had any luck to get something produced yet. But a director with no credits, that scares me a little, because usually if it's going to be a film like this, you want to see at least a bunch of short films under somebody's belt, like a bunch of short films or a feature or hopefully commercials, but I mean more so short films. So the combo could be a bad thing. We'll see.
Now, look, a lot of people have been screaming for a long time, Dave Filoni should direct a Star Wars movie. And I'm like, Dave Filoni has never directed anything live action. I mean, let him get his feet wet, groom him a little bit. And now what's Lucasfilm doing? He's directing actually a couple of the episodes of The Mandalorian, which is perfect, because now he's getting his feet under him. He's cutting his teeth on live action stuff, working with that step by step by step. I agree with you, Ash. I'm not, on its own, I'm not terribly concerned by a writer who's never written anything that anybody's wanted to produce. That's fine. Somebody's got to have their first screenplay. I'm not even going to jump overboard on the idea of a first-time director, although that always makes me nervous on a big-budget film. Why not a good little horror film to start? Why not a little charming rom-com? Why not some television episodes or something, right? But both at the same time, it does make me a little bit nervous. So I've got this war going on in my head, guys, of on the one hand, kind of stoked we're getting Mortal Kombat reboot, but with a writer who's never had anything produced and a director at the helm with no credits whatsoever. Is this the best idea? I don't know. I'm really curious to know, guys, what do you guys think about all this? Does your enthusiasm for, yes, we're finally getting some Mortal Kombat back, or does your pessimism win? I was like, or maybe the fact that this is an untested writer and director doesn't bother you at all. I want to know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts.